When they found him, his expression was so serene, so calm, that for a moment they thought it was a murder that had happened just the day before. Imagine walking through a swamp, a place we often associate with mud, dampness, and decay. Now imagine stumbling upon something that looks uncannily like a sleeping human body. Not a bone, not a skeleton, but skin, hair, even perfectly preserved facial features. This is exactly what has happened repeatedly in Northern Europe, and each time these finds have given us an incredible window into a past we thought was lost forever. These are the swamp bodies, and their history is a disturbing puzzle of science, mystery, and ancient rites. The marshes of Northern Europe are unique places, true guardians of time. Here, under layers of peat, not only plants and artifacts have been preserved, but also extraordinarily human remains. We are not talking about Egyptian mummies, treated with elaborate embalming techniques, but natural mummies, created by the chemistry of the earth itself. These individuals, sometimes whole, sometimes fragmented, offer us an unparalleled insight into the life, beliefs, and practices of the peoples who inhabited these lands thousands of years ago. Their archaeological and historical importance is immense because they allow us to directly touch and study people who lived in the Iron Age, a period from which we often only have fragments of pottery or weapons. But among all these extraordinary finds, there is one that stands out for its perfection, its ability to deceive the eye and to tell a story that even today leaves us breathless. It is 1950, a cold and windy May morning in the village of Tollund, Denmark. Two men, Emil and Viggo Højgaard, are digging peat for fuel as they have done for generations. But this time their shovel doesn't hit the usual dark earth. Something different emerges, something dark and unexpectedly familiar. Initially, they think they found the body of a recent murder victim. The man they dug up was lying on his side in a fetal position, his eyes closed, his face relaxed as if he were simply sleeping. The skin was intact, the hair well groomed, even a light beard was visible. It was so well preserved that anyone would have mistaken it for a recently deceased person. Imagine their shock, their fear. They call the police, convinced that they are facing a macabre crime. But when experts arrive and analyze the body, they realize that something is not right. The method of preservation, the conditions of the discovery, everything suggested a much older story than a contemporary crime. The Toland man was not a recent murder victim, but a silent witness to 2,000 years of history. The secret of this incredible conservation lies in the unique environment of the peat bogs. They are not simple swamps, but complex ecosystems where decomposition is slowed down and in some cases almost completely stopped. Three main factors work together to create this natural time capsule. First, the acidity of the peat. Peat bogs are extremely acidic, with a pH similar to that of vinegar. This acidic environment is lethal to most bacteria and microorganisms responsible for decay. Second, the anoxic environment, that is, the total absence or very low content of oxygen. Underwater, in these waterlogged bogs, oxygen is scarce, preventing the aerobic bacterial activity that normally destroys soft tissue. Third, the low temperatures, typical of Northern Europe, which further slow down any chemical or biological process. Combined, these factors prevent rot, allowing for the extraordinary preservation of skin, muscles, internal organs, and even delicate details such as hair, nails, and wool or leather clothing. The leather itself undergoes a process that chemists call tanninization. Humic acids in the peat react with the proteins in the leather, turning it into a leather-like substance, which darkens and hardens but retains its shape and texture. It's as if nature had embalmed these people, making them one of a kind. But why did these individuals end up in the swamps? This is the darkest and most fascinating part of the story. Most of the bog bodies didn't end up there by accident. Archaeological analysis, together with evidence of violent and intentional deaths, suggests that many were victims of ritual sacrifices. The Tollund man, for example, had a leather cord tied tightly around his neck, indicating strangulation. Many other bodies show signs of wounds, decapitations, or even throats being cut. In the Iron Age, the peoples of Northern Europe had complex religious beliefs, often linked to nature, the fertility of the land, and the gods of the marshes. Placing a body in a peat bog could be an offering, an attempt to appease deities or to ensure a good harvest. Peat bogs, liminal places between land and water, life and death, were considered gateways to other worlds, sacred places where propitiatory rites were performed. Comparing these practices with other findings, such as ship burials or burials in mounds, we understand that the bog bodies represent an extremely specific type of rite, perhaps reserved for particular people or moments of crisis. Were they perhaps prisoners of war, criminals, or individuals chosen for a sacrificial fate? The answers are never complete, but the mystery adds a veil of unease to their story. Today, thanks to modern methods of scientific analysis, we can discover incredible details about these ancient people. Tollund man, for example, revealed his last meal to us, a porridge made of barley, flax, plantain, and other wild herbs, with no traces of meat or fish, consumed approximately 12-24 hours before his death. This analysis of stomach contents gives us a direct glimpse into the diet of the time and perhaps of a ritual meal. DNA studies, though often difficult on such ancient and acidic remains, attempt to trace origins and family connections. Analysis of the pollen present in the peat around the bodies allows us to date the discovery with great precision and to reconstruct the environment and landscape of the time. The study of clothing and ornaments, such as the conical hat of Tollund man or the woolen bands of other bog bodies, gives us valuable information about the material culture, craftsmanship, and fashion of the Iron Age. And the examination of pathologies and health conditions reveals diseases, traumas, or even the nutritional status of these individuals. Every fiber, every trace of pollen, every little clue brings us closer to understanding who they were, how they lived, and perhaps why they died in such an enigmatic way. Bog bodies are much more than simple archaeological finds. They are veritable time capsules, silent messengers from a distant past. They offer us a tangible connection to ancient humanity, allowing us to reflect on their fears, their hopes, their religious practices, often so far from our modern understanding. They remind us that history is not just about kings and battles, but also about the daily lives of ordinary people and the mysterious rights that tied them to the land and the gods. Scientific research continues, and each new technology allows us to reveal further secrets. Who knows what other stories await to be told by the next bodies that the Earth, with its inexhaustible memory, may one day return to us. If you're fascinated by the story of Tollund Man, don't miss the next video.